about common mistakes that people do to stop fat loss. Because most of the time, it's not your body that's broken. It's that you're making some simple but brutal errors. I see this quite often. You eat healthy, but you're overeating. Just because something is labeled as clean or organic or high protein or healthy doesn't mean it's low calorie. Doesn't mean that you can eat an abundance of it. Peanut butter, avocados, olive oil, nuts. These are fantastic foods. They are healthy. They are good fats. However, if you eat half a jar of peanut butter, if you drown your salad in oil, if you go ahead and eat 500 grams of nuts, or this one, and this has scarred me, or you eat a crap ton of avocados, smashed avocados on toast, you are going to blow through your calorie deficit. Remember, fat loss comes down to calorie deficit. And the reason I said that avocado has scarred me, because I had this client, and I get all my clients to send me their food, right? And that's just a service I offer, and if they want to kind of use it, they do. There are some people who they're kind of like, yeah, I'm good to go, don't want to bother with that and whatever. And then some people don't do it just because it's a pain in the fucking ass, right? However, there was this client that was training, and we're doing everything, and she's saying all the right stuff, she's eating all the right stuff, she's got a protein powder, blah, whatever. She just wasn't making great results. She was making a bit, but just not great. So I really pushed, and I said, look, really try and send me your food. It turned out that she was eating a couple of avocados per day. Now we're talking about like, I say couple, she was having about 4, 5, sometimes 6. That's a lot of not only calories, but avocados. So I banned avocados from her diet, and we started to see a change. But she took a very long time to kind of wrap her head around, because it was a healthy food item, and it is healthy. Now that is a real life extreme example. However, if you are having nuts as an example, I have another client where he had nuts on his desk, and every time he kind of was working or whatever, he would just take a handful and just shove it in his mouth. He wasn't telling me about it, and he was putting on body fat. And I said to him, you understand that that handful of nuts that you're having could be 100, 200 additional calories on top of what you're already having. Now, if you're doing that a couple times, okay, let's take it lower end of the scale. If you have 100 calories worth of nuts in that handful, and you're shoving it in your mouth and you're eating and whatever, how many times are you doing that throughout the day? If you do that 4 times, that's 400 additional calories. That could be your calorie deficit out the fucking window. So that's one of the mistakes I see people do. Second mistake, relying only on exercise. Most people, I would say 98% of people, can't outrun or outtrain a bad diet. Hitting the treadmill for an hour does not cancel out dominoes. Now, exercise helps, yes, but your diet is what does the heavy lifting when it comes to fat loss. What I love about influencers making content is some people put out there that, you know, you can run on a treadmill and then have like a Snickers bar and undo that hard work. Now, it doesn't exactly work like that, but if we're using it as a simplistic example to say exercise is only going to get you so far, but pulling from your diet is going to give you a better result, because if you have to run for an hour, let's say, on the treadmill, and that's going to take away, 200 calories, and you're able to eat 200 calories in not even a minute, yes, I can, then that just shows time for time, you're better off pulling that 200 calories from your diet and save you the minute. Otherwise, you have to run for an hour. It's simplistic. It doesn't exactly work like that in the body, but it's an example to say, fuck with the diet, exercise will only get you a certain place. Mistake number 3, underestimating calories. Research shows people underreport what they eat by 47%. Now that's huge. I've had clients do this. They're snacking while they're cooking. They're making their kids dinner and they're like, ooh, chicken nugget, ooh, shit. They don't talk about that. They just talk about what they're having on their plate. I had another client that was finishing their kids' food that they didn't eat, but they weren't telling me about it. I was like, bruh, that has calories in it. Like, all these things add up. And also, calories can also be off on food packaging by a certain percent. So that's also something to kind of be mindful of when you're looking at the packaging and nutrition label and saying, well, that's how many calories is in this or how much protein or whatever. It allows for human error. Tracking calories can be good to show you how calorically dense certain foods are. I've had clients where I'm like, look, you really need to track because you don't understand what you're having and you don't understand what that's doing to the body. And then when they track, they're like, oh shit, okay, my hot chocolate is that much and I could be replacing that with all of this. And it just shows people what they're doing and how they got to this point and how it kind of creeps up on you. I mean, I'm looking at some hot chocolates and they're coming in at fucking 700 calories. I'm like, what the fuck? That's an entire meal. And I'm drinking that in what, 2 fucking minutes? Once it's cooled down, at least. And we're talking like an ultimate hot chocolate with your fucking marshmallows and all this kind of shit, fucking flake and blah. That's an ultimate hot chocolate there. But tracking is a good way to have an idea of what you're eating, but it's not 100%. Always remember that. It's something that gives you an idea. Now, if you're someone that eats kind of the same foods, you can track that and then see if there's a change. If there's no change, then you can start to pull from there, but it's still just giving you that idea. Don't take it for gospel. Mistake number 4, cutting out whole food groups. Going no carb or no fat isn't a magic trick. It just creates a restriction, which could possibly lead to binging later on, and then also possibly bad relationship with food. Now, there's pros and cons with this, because for a lot of people who have a normal balanced diet, if you go ahead and you cut out carbs, as an example, you're kind of setting up a bad relationship with food. You're demonizing those foods. Like, I personally don't like good and clean foods and this kind of wording, because at the end of the day, there is no real good foods and there's no real bad foods. You know, there is foods that are calorically dense, they taste incredibly great, and you know, by eating them you're going to put on body fat, and then there's other foods that are better suited to get you to where you want to be. That's it, simple as. I don't like looking at a food being like, that's a bad food, you know, because you're connecting, you're linking words to certain foods, which subconsciously can mess you up. Doesn't mean it's going to happen for everyone. But then I also use this kind of cutting out whole food groups for helping me with my bad relationship with food, because if I go through a period of time where I'm just eating a lot of shit, a lot of sweet stuff and all that, that's my weakness, sweets, then I would kind of go on a very restrictive, very low carb diet where, you know, I've put in a rule that I can't have the carbs. So therefore I know sweets are a carb. It breaks down into sugars and glucose. So I can't have it. And then that's my way of kind of refraining from it for a period of time. So this can be a mistake for most people, but if you're able to, utilize it and just do it for a period of time and then come back and be able to eat balance again, it could be a good tool. So there's a bit of give and take with this one. Mistake number 5 is the weekends, right? This is a bait one. This is almost every client. Monday through to Friday, they're perfect. They're eating the diet properly. They're training. And then Saturday night hits, or even Friday night hits, and then it's drinks with people from the office, takeaways, chill out, social events, family events, all this kind of stuff. And then you could have undone the entire week's worth of a deficit or work in like 48 hours, or if you're looking at me, 24 hours, because I could be bad as fuck. Now, fat loss is about consistency, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy your weekends and shouldn't go to social events, family events and all that, but there is a level of planning, there's a level of, maybe I don't go to this, or maybe I go and I don't drink, or, instead of going and getting absolutely fucking plastered, right, maybe just go and have a few if you can do that. Something along those lines. You have to do something in order to kind of retain the results that you've been having so far. There's no point in you doing all this work Monday through to Friday and just blowing it on the fucking weekends. That's just a recipe to spin your wheels. Neglecting protein. This is another mistake I see people do. Protein isn't just for muscle. It keeps you full. It helps to preserve lean mass and makes sticking to a deficit a lot easier. Without it, you'll feel hungrier and lose more muscle than fat. Mistake number 7. I see this with a lot of clients, a lot of people in general. Poor sleep and stress. I know a lot of people who just doom scroll, right, till the early morning, and then they'll fall asleep, and then they might get 4-5 hours in the night, and then they're stressed out, their hunger hormones go wild, cravings go up, and the body becomes a bit more resistant to fat loss. Now, if you don't sleep well, then your performance isn't going to be well, which means you're not going to be able to perform at a certain level to elicit the result that you're looking for. My rule is try your best to get a minimum of 7 hours worth of sleep. If you can get 8, beautiful. If you can get 9, even better. Sleep is a very underrated thing. Your body literally recovers. It literally repairs when you are sleeping. Sleep is something that you shouldn't sleep on, if that makes sense. It's something you need to focus on and prioritize. If you have to set an alarm to say, I gotta go to bed now, right? Do it. Start to develop a sleep routine. Mistake number 8, expecting results too fast. Fat loss is slow. It is slow. I sound like a broken motherfucking record when I talk about this. If you just want weight loss, and that meaning you will lose weight from muscle and fat, go do shit ton of cardio, eat as little as your willpower will allow you, and you will lose weight. That number on the scale will go down so quickly. It's unbelievable. And if your happiness is in number on the scale, do that. But what I will say is, you will pay for that later. You will not be strong. You will be weak. You will be frail. You will have lost muscle, which means that when your willpower runs out, the amount of food that you can eat will be less because you've now fucked your metabolism, because you've lost muscle, right? Losing the muscle means your metabolism goes lower, which means you can't handle as much food as what you were having before. With that weight loss, it's not necessary that you will feel confident to wear tight fitting clothes. It's not necessary that you will like the results that you get, because you could end up, this is a term, skinny fat. And all that means is you are a smaller version of your fat self. If you've got love handles, you've still got love handles. If certain parts of you jiggle, you're still going to jiggle. Now, if you want to do it properly, fat loss is slow. Weight training is building muscle. So for some people, you can actually be building muscle and losing body fat at the same fucking time, which means that number on the scale might not even change. However, your body composition, the makeup of what your body has in terms of a percentage of body fat, muscle, can change. You can have 2 people who are the same weight. You can have 2 people that are, let's say, 15 stone, right? Person A is very lean and muscular. Person B is fat. They both weigh 15 stone. One's healthier than the other. Now, when you start to prioritize building muscle, again, fat loss is slow. I have to talk about this so much. And because of the world that we live in, where a lot of people, doctors and the industry will talk about weight and BMI and all this fucking shit, it stresses people out to step on that scale again and again. I've had people who I've completely changed their body composition, and when they step on the scale, they've lost something like 2 kgs, but they look night and day different. I've had other people where actually they've put weight on, but because muscle takes up less space than fat, they've got smaller, they've got leaner, they've built that muscle, they're heavier on the scale, but they look fantastic and they look so much better than they did when they were fat. I've got some people that expect abs in 4 weeks and then they're going to quit when that doesn't happen. It doesn't make sense. Consistency is what we're looking for. Stick with the plan, fuck the scale. I've made many videos on that, and just keep going. Those are some of the common mistakes I see people do. At the end of the day, I'm here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. A lot of the stuff that I've said, you might not want to hear. However, if you make some changes based on this video, you can dramatically change the way you look, the way you feel, the way you perform. And given a realistic time span, let's say 6 months, which a lot of people don't want to hear. They want to hear you say, I'll get you where you want to be in 6 weeks, 12 weeks. It doesn't fucking work like that. Give yourself 6 months, implement some changes, and then you will see a difference. You will feel a difference. And that's it.